Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. When the Daily Telegraph starts publishing headlines that say that the policy it's been championing for the last 10 years only has the support of barely 29% of the British public, and that almost double that would rather reverse it, you know Brexit is dead.
You know, somehow, I told you so just doesn't quite say it.
And before we get to the I told you so's, I just want to point out that if only 29% of people actually want to be outside of the EU, then that means that all the poverty that Brexit is inflicting on us, all the damage that it's doing, is being imposed on the people of the UK against our will by British politicians. The decision to not reverse Brexit, when it has been clear for years that the people of the UK do not want it anymore, means that in this cost of living crisis, British politicians are literally stealing food off your plate. Now, if only somebody had warned people that the mandate to leave the EU would expire within a matter of years. Oh wait, what did I do the very first time that I ever went on national TV? This.
Well, joining me now is Femi Olawule, who is the co-founder of Our Future, Our Choice, a campaign group of young people who think Brexit is a disaster and should be stopped.
Right now, both Brexit voters and Remain voters aren't happy with the deal currently being negotiated in Brussels.
Now that was February 13th, 2018, and it was a prediction that Brexit voters would not be happy with the Brexit deal, i.e. the relationship that we'd have with the EU that would replace our membership of the EU. And there are three main parties in the UK that represent the people who wanted to leave the EU. That's the Brexit Party, the Conservatives, and the DUP in Northern Ireland. The DUP rejected Boris Johnson's deal before we'd even left. Nigel Farage's Brexit Party, now called the Reform Party, they rejected it too, and the Conservative Party rejected it 6 months after we left. So what I said in 2018 was proven right within 2 years.
We should have a say in whether or not this deal is going to make our lives worse or better.
And the following year, the majority of voters chose parties that were offering us a say on the Brexit deal.
The under 55 population of the UK voted to remain. So in 5 years' time, by absolutely anyone's maths, we have a population that voted to remain in the EU.
So that was me in 2018 predicting that within 5 years of the 2016 vote, so 2021, the majority of the people would be supporting remaining in the EU. Oh, and would you look at that? From 2021, every single YouGov poll had shown the majority of the British people supporting remaining in the EU.
And but in that time, will we have completed Brexit? Will we have all our own laws? Can you re-legislate the UK in 5 years? No.
Because the whole point of Brexit was taking back control, sovereignty, writing our own laws rather than working with other European countries to make laws together. And so the Brexiteers wanted to get rid of all EU laws, but that hasn't happened because according to pretty much every sector of the UK economy, that would cause utter chaos.
Will we have all our own trade deals? Can you make trade deals with hundreds of other countries in the world in 5 years? No.
The deals we've done since Brexit don't even come close to making up for what we've lost in terms of trade with the EU. The main deal the Tories bragged about was doing their deal with the CPTPP, but the government's economists say that that's only going to improve our economy by maybe 0.04%, whereas Brexit is costing us 4%, so literally 100 times the size.
So before Brexit is even close to complete, we have a population that doesn't want it. It will no longer be the will of the people.
As has been shown by every single poll right up until today.
It's our future. Who's going to be looking for a job in that economy?
Brexit cost 40,000 jobs in the City of London. There were 25,000 jobs in holiday resorts across Europe that young Brits used to do during the summer and winter, and they're completely gone now.
Who's going to be raising a family in that economy?
About a third of the rises in food prices that you've seen in the last few years has come from Brexit. The fact that Brexit has been increasing food prices has been confirmed by the Bank of England and the Food and Drink Association. All this during a cost of living crisis where half of low-income parents have been skipping meals in order to feed their kids.
Who's going to be looking for a mortgage in that economy? It's the people that voted not to have this.
Well, how expensive mortgages are is largely dependent on the Bank of England, who raise interest rates based on how much they can see inflation going up. And as I just said, the Bank of England says that Brexit has made inflation worse. So just like I predicted, Brexit has made the mortgage market even more expensive. And then there's what I said about Corbyn.
Okay. I have a background in human rights. I should be on Jeremy Corbyn's side, but I'm not entirely there. He's the most inspiring politician in terms of, I'm a lefty, so he should be my guy. But his stance on Brexit, allowing it to happen, is going to make lives harder for the very people he's trying to protect.
And 4 months after I said that, Corbyn was still saying that we had to leave the EU single market, which is precisely what has damaged our economy and raised food prices during the worst cost of living crisis we've seen in a generation.
If he wants an NHS that functions, he needs to make sure that we have an economy that functions and can support those public services.
Based on the government's own figures, Brexit is costing the UK government about £40 billion a year in lost tax revenue. That is less money to spend on things like the NHS. Not to mention the Brexit trade barriers making it harder for the NHS to get a hold of all the drugs that it needs.
If he wants to make sure we have all the doctors we need, he needs to make sure we don't discourage EU migrants who currently make up relatively more of our doctors than we do.
Because by ending free movement, we made it so that doctors across Europe would know that if they come to the UK, they'll have fewer rights here than they'd have in any other European country. So why would they come? In fact, the British Medical Association has said that Brexit has cost us 4,000 doctors. And a recent study suggests that the loss of EU nurses has cost 1,500 deaths per year. And we've been seeing this loss of nurses since 2016, and that's 9 years. So 9 times 1,500, that's over 13,000 people who have been killed by the relative drop in EU nurses. That's not even counting the loss of EU doctors, the loss of medicines, people that have died from being pushed even deeper into poverty. And we know austerity kills people, and Brexit has meant that the government has had £40 billion a year less to spend on us.
And nobody has bothered to explain what is the single market. And it can be done in 20 seconds. The single market is a system whereby you only need to make a single version of whatever you want to sell, and it will be legal everywhere in Europe. That means you can buy and sell your stuff a hell of a lot cheaper.
Which is why being outside of the EU single market is crippling UK businesses, with 60% of export firms saying that Brexit has made their lives harder, according to the British Chamber of Commerce.
I told you so. Just doesn't quite say it.
So I got pulled off the bench because, having studied EU law, I realized, oh no, we're going in the wrong direction because our politicians haven't been telling us the whole story. And so young people need to just recognize that this is their future. It needs to be their choice.
Okay.
So we didn't stop it before, but the question is, how much noise are you willing to make now that the government is deliberately, knowingly, dishonestly, anti-democratically stealing food off your plate? I'm Femi. Make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.